Today is February 2nd, 2025, and this is our weekly update on the ongoing war between Israel and its enemies on multiple fronts throughout the Middle East. Shalom, my friends. This is the Kiva Gersh with Israel in 5, where we give you everything Israel in 5 minutes. Please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions and want to keep the conversation going, please do so below in the comments. Yesterday in Israel was yet again another powerful and emotional day as we witnessed the release of three more hostages from horrible and brutal captivity held by Hamas terrorist organization in the Gaza Strip. Three Israeli men were released. This is the first time that we saw a release fully men. There was one man released this past Thursday, along with two other female hostages. This is the first time that we've seen an entire release of only men. And this most likely means that those who will be freed moving forward will be all men as well, as they said that they would release the living women first, although at the same time, it brings a lot of worry, fear, and trepidation amongst Israeli citizens about the fate of Shiri Babas, the mother of the two children who were kidnapped and taken hostage on October 7th, 2023. Her husband, Yarden, was one of those released yesterday, and still it is unknown if Shiri and her two children, Yarden's children as well, if they are alive or not. The big question is, are they not alive and that's why they haven't been released yet? Or is Hamas playing yet another psychological warfare game and not releasing them yet to make Israelis worry? Time will tell. We'll only know, obviously, at the end of these 6 weeks. We're halfway through this deal, this exchange of hostages for Palestinian prisoners and terrorists. And we'll have to wait another possibly few weeks to see what is the fate of Shiri Babas and their two children. But it was very powerful, very emotional, very celebratory to see Yarden, Ofer, and Keith all released yesterday. Very, very powerful moment seeing them reunite with their families for the first time in almost 500 days. As more and more hostages come out and come back to Israel and reunite with their families and begin their long process of rehabilitation, we are learning more and more details of their captivity and how brutal it was. Of course, what Hamas is doing on the day of the release with the stage and with the flags and the ceremonies and the signing and the waving and all that is a complete facade. Of course, you don't have to be, as we say, a nuclear scientist to understand that that is a total facade. But at the same time, it is tricking some people around the world to thinking, oh, it wasn't so bad. Look, their captivity wasn't so, but look how they are. They look pretty good, right? They're being taken care of. Like there's a ceremony, there's a signing, right? They're wearing normal clothes. Their hair looks okay, whatever it might be, right? Obviously, it's a facade, and the actual moments that they spent in captivity were filled with brutality, violence, starvation, and in many cases, darkness. Right? We're learning that some of these hostages who were released recently spent their entire captivity alone, without any other hostages. Many of them in tunnels underneath Gaza, sometimes even in cages. Right? Horrible, horrible things that they went through. And as the mother of one of the hostages said, it's a miracle that she's still alive. Right? Those who needed medical treatment didn't get it. Those who took medicine didn't get it. At least one hostage was actually held partially in UN facilities, right? And her mother is demanding a probe into this. How can that possibly be, right? This is Anwar, who the American government just officially stopped funding because of their connections and their affiliations with Hamas during this war. So those are the updates in terms of the hostages coming back home. We have 3 more weeks of this deal unfolding before us. And of course, unfortunately, the dark side of this deal is that prisoners and terrorists, some of them with blood on their hands, who are serving life sentences, sometimes, some of them multiple life sentences for suicide bombings that they were part of. Obviously, they weren't ones to blow up, but they were ones who assisted and facilitated them, or they carried out other kinds of terror attacks in Israel that led to the death of multiple Israelis. they are also being released in this deal, and that is obviously very worrying and intense and very difficult and challenging for Israelis to accept and to know. The worst of the worst are being sent to Turkey and Qatar, but the other ones are being sent to places around Judea and Samaria, as well as the Gaza Strip. So this is the unfolding story with the hostages, a new update and event on another front, on the Syrian front. We talked about in previous weeks that Israel entered into the buffer zone between Israel and Syria after the Syrian regime fell almost 2 months ago, and then vowed to stay there, right, in order to secure Israel's security and safety because of the situation there. For the first time since the regime fell and Israel entered into that buffer zone, Israeli forces there were fired at by enemy forces. It was something called the Syrian resistance, which aligns itself with the former Syrian regime, as well as Hezbollah. And they fired at Israeli forces. And of course, all eyes are on that to see if this is just a one-off kind of random situation, or is this the beginning of something heating up on that front? We will keep you informed as we know as well. But this is the general update in the situation around the Middle East involving Israel and its enemies on multiple fronts. The ceasefire in Lebanon continues to hold. That has another 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks, and we'll see if that continues as well, or if there will be a return to fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. As always, we thank you for your prayers, your thoughts, and your support for all of Israel, especially Israeli soldiers fighting this fight on the front lines, and of course for the Israeli hostages, those who have come home and those who have not yet come home. And we hope to see them all back in Israel much, much sooner than later. All the best, my friends, and be well.